take a look around and find somebody to War Eagle. It's showtime.
Holy cow! Oh my God!
Well, hello there, Auburn, Alabama, and all points around the globe where War Eagle can be heard and returned with joy, particularly if you are trapped in the miserable, infernal, bug-infested swampscape known as the state of Louisiana. Our prayers are with you. What a singularly irredeemable swath of real estate. Good Lord. I mean, from Shreveport, Fort Polk, Alexandria to Baton Rouge to South Pass. Just, ugh. Blech. Lake Charles, blech. Anyway, if you are a decent human being trapped in the borders of that confluence of water, then we sympathize with you. We don't sympathize with you. Well, some of us do, but we harbor goodwill for your well-being, especially on this day. If you happen to be stuck in the state of Louisiana and you are an Auburn fan, an Auburn alumnus, etc. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good day to you, and I hope this message, as always, finds you truly well and joyful, and that you are free from the evil clutches of voodoo black magic as we peer over the wall at LSU Saturday. Yes, here we are again on a Saturday morning podcast. This seems to be becoming a thing, as I meander through the vagaries of my week. I've landed here a few times. And with the start of this particular game being so late in the evening, 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock here in my Eastern Time Zone, 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. I don't do things that late anymore. I'm old. I got to start something at 9 o'clock. I'm going to need 3 naps today. Anyway, hello, consumers of Auburn Broadcast Transmissions, and welcome to Auburn Stuff. This right here is the Variety Show podcast, where we discuss the philosophy of life in orange and blue and other stuff that you may or may not find entertaining and informative, but that I certainly do. And if you would, please allow me a moment of the precious and unrenewable resource known as your time to remind you how important a follow, subscription, rating, and review are to your favorite shows. Whatever it is that you love out there, ladies and gentlemen, in our digital world, if you don't interact with it, unfortunately, you can't just be a passive. I mean, you can be a passive bystander. Of course you can, but if everyone is a passive bystander, then the things that you enjoy go away because they get algorithmed into non-existence. So just take a moment, if you would, with my show or anything else that you love or that you like or that you find valuable or informative or useful. Take the time to give a little like, click whatever buttons you need to click, bells and thumbs, and just leave a 1 or 2 word review if you can, because as you know, that helps. And it helps maybe more than you know if you haven't forayed into the creation of this nonsense. Although about everyone has now, between the Book of Faces and the grams of Insta and all of the other nonsense. Pretty much everybody's a content creator, right? Content creator. And speaking of which, I've been talking for months and months and months about the Auburn Stuff YouTube channel, which has been live for quite some time now, but I haven't paid all that much attention to it. But there is actual content over there. If you are more into the visual medium, or if you like to augment your podcast listening with complimentary video, then head on over to the Auburn Stuff YouTube channel, because there is actual stuff there. And tomorrow, if everything holds, we will be recording another episode of What Did We Learn? LSU edition. Hopefully we learned something good, but we'll get to that. So please head on over there, Auburn Stuff on YouTube. And as I said, let me know. You know, I look at all the telemetry and see who the hell's doing what and how many views and all that kind of stuff. I'm not terribly interested in the granular breakdown, but I do like to see what the traffic is doing there. And if you're interested in what you're actually interested in that I'm doing. So anyway, if that is a thing in which you are interested, head on over there and become a subscriber. Give us some thumbs up and leave a comment. And I would certainly appreciate that. But back to the podcast world, and as we gaze across the beautiful landscape of the United States of America and beyond, we take a look at our download map, and we extend thanks and greetings as well to our listeners from Grand Bay to Bridgeport in the glorious and lovely state of Alabama, and in Dublin, Ohio, Farmington, Maine, Ridgeland, South Carolina, Grand Junction, Colorado, way down in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and way up in Fairview, Alberta, Canada. Thank you for joining the fun. We appreciate your time as always. The date today, it is Saturday, October 2nd, 2021, and the time right here, right now, is 10:07 a.m. in the Eastern Time Zone, making it 9:07 over there in the Central Time Zone, where the kickoff for Auburn at LSU will be taking place. And the weather, the current weather at College and Magnolia is October. Nothing else matters because we've survived the demonic death march of summer and made it to October, ladies and gentlemen. Hallelujah. Pass the potatoes. Lord have mercy. It is so glorious to be able to say it is October. But more to the point, the weather in Baton Rouge for today will be mostly gross. It's not going to be hot. Although it looks to me like Baton Rouge is going to kind of hold steady around 77 degrees all day. And if you don't live in a coastal area, and I know it's humid everywhere in the South, but if you don't live in a coastal area, the grip that coastal, swampy, marshy humidity holds on to you when you're completely surrounded by water and you're about 8 feet above sea level, it's a whole different level of unpleasant, where 77 degrees can just make you feel like you're swimming in a warm mud puddle. But it is likely going to rain throughout the day down there in Baton Rouge, and that's going to have some direction on this game, I think. You remember, what was it? Was it 15 down there when Jeremy Johnson had the infamous glove incident when Rhett Lashley was over there? JJ couldn't hold on to the ball. It was so hot and humid, and he was trying to put a glove on his throwing hand, and Rhett Lashley got so put out with him, that shot of him over there ripping the gloves off of JJ's hands on the sidelines. Yeah, that's what it's like. That's what you deal with in a climate like that. So it's not going to be that hot, but it's going to be something like that. And so somebody under center or behind center with, I don't know, maybe larger hands or more of a grasp of what it's like to play in that particular climate and the physical tools to be able to overcome that, well, that guy might be a good starting quarterback. We're going to get to that. So, first of all, if anything sounds different, if my voice sounds different, or if there's some some snot and phlegm going on in the background. It is entirely possible that I broke my nose yesterday at the gym. I may going to see how I progress over the next day or so and determine whether I need to go have that looked at. But I don't like to do traditional weight training. For one, it's very boring, and for two, it trains your body into very limited maneuvers. And if you are into fitness, your fitness should be geared toward readiness for whatever may come your way. And if you are only ready to push a bar off of your chest or do something in a curling fashion, then you're not going to be very ready when things start moving in the transverse plane. So I like to do, here's an overused term, functional strength training, but with a nod toward more movements that you might perform in your actual life. And especially if you're under duress, your body will, if you train in this way, will perform more efficiently and effectively in those situations. So anyway, I'm always back there trying to figure out what kind of weird new move can I do today. And so I had a medicine ball, had an 8-pound medicine ball, and there's monkey bars in the back room of the gym. And so I thought, well, let me do this. So I held the medicine ball above my head, and the exercise was going to be to almost like you're batting a volleyball, like you're volleying a volleyball with sort of the fingertips straight up in the air thing. I was going to toss the medicine ball over each bar of the monkey bars, let it come back down, take a step forward. And so you kind of see the whole movement of the thing. It's a continuous movement, tossing arms above the head with the 8-pound medicine ball, flipping that above the bar, and also that hand-eye coordination of when it comes back down, catching it, moving forward, and all that kind of stuff. What I didn't factor in, because sometimes I'm stupid, is the what's going to happen if I kind of over toss the thing and it hits the medicine ball, which, they're made of rubber, they're bouncy. So what's going to happen if it hits that thing and then bounces off one bar, then the other bar, and the other bar, kind of like Plinko, and comes and smashes on my face. So that happened, and my nose made a sound of something like, let's see if I can, it was not kind of like that, something like that. It was not pleasant. It was not delightful. So anyway, if there's any difference in sound, it may have something to do with that. So thank you for listening to my medical broadcast. It is, in case you were not aware, LSU week, which brings with it a whole lot of strangely repetitive stupidness. Fires, earthquakes, 6 field goal games, 6 interception games, or however many it was. It just is an awful lot of weirdness. And if you've been around Auburn for more than 5 seconds, you're aware of Auburn LSU weirdness. Coaches getting fired and all that kind of stuff. So, which brings to mind, if we beat LSU, which I have previously guaranteed prior to all the weirdness, if we beat LSU in Baton Rouge for the first time since 1999, will they sack another coach? Will they say, Cookie Monster, you're out? I hope not, because that guy is hilarious. I don't want him coaching my team, but he's hilarious to have around. So overcoming LSU week stupidness in and of itself is, of course, irrelevant. I don't believe in trends when it comes to the execution of sporting events. Trends such as LSU Auburn weirdness, or can't win in Baton Rouge because it's Baton Rouge. Well, that's just stupid. Look, if you look at the breadth and scope of college football, by and large and on the whole, it's really hard to win on the road. Okay? Just hard to do. Sometimes weird crap happens. Sometimes your field goal kicker misses every field goal in front of him. Sometimes a guy slips and falls down on the wet grass. Whatever. Things like that happen. I don't put an awful lot of stock in. I don't put any stock in trends like that. So the outcome of this game does not depend upon exercising voodoo curses or, anything stupid like that. It's just going to come down to execution and probably a handful of plays, as these games always do. When a game is fairly evenly matched, it always comes down to a handful of plays. So dispense with the LSU week stupidness and voodoo and all the craziness. Not saying something weird isn't going to happen, but don't put too much stock in that. So what I'd love to see, or what I will be interested in seeing this week tonight is changes. Will there be any changes on the way in some things that we have seen that have puzzled us and troubled us? For example, defensive philosophy as a whole, which seems to have been very passive thus far, with the exception of some minor tweaks in the second half and more particularly in the fourth quarter of that game last week, which we haven't had a chance to talk about yet. But at this point, honestly, what the hell difference does it make? It's been analyzed to death. It was what it was. The team clearly came in off an emotional road loss to play a non-equal opponent with a big game on the road the following week. They did not bring it. And when they got punched in the mouth, the confluence of events that happened, the passive play on defense, the lack of commitment to, well, actually not a lack of commitment to the run game, because they were basically, Georgia State was jamming almost everybody they had on their roster into the box to defend the run because, well, they sort of figured out what we may or may not do. And as we came in, maybe trying to figure some things out for LSU, trying to do some things that maybe we wouldn't ordinarily do. And the continued absence of checking out of plays when Georgia State was daring us to throw. We saw a little bit of when they put 8 or 9 guys in the box, and we still ran off tackle over and over and over again. So, anyway, getting back to what the hell I was talking about, defense. We'll get to the offense here in a second, but will there be any changes in defensive philosophy? Will we be more aggressive? Will we see more of a dedication to a pass rush, bringing more than 3 guys, blitzes, stunts, movement of your defensive front, your rushing players, that's more than just like standing up and blocking. Will we see any of these things take place? I certainly hope so, because it would appear, you never can predict these things, but it would appear that LSU is going to be, well, they're a passing football team, and especially if they've looked at the film of our defense and our secondary recently and the performance and the general overall defensive philosophy, they must be thinking they're going to pass for 600 yards on us. So, will we counteract that in general philosophy? Will we dedicate more of a pass rush? And will we see more any kind of a tweak in the field of coverage, pass coverage? Will we see more man and these kind of things? Just looking for, I'm not talking about abandoning your core principles. I'm talking about adjusting and not waiting until halftime to make some changes that might obviously help you. Will we see more guys back from nagging injuries? Will Owen Papo be anywhere near 100%? What about Jalen Simpson? What's going on with him? So those are the things. Really, overall defensive philosophy. Will we see kind of a shift more into pressure? Rushing more guys, blitzing, all that kind of stuff. Because if we don't, I just don't know how. We've already made one average quarterback look like a Heisman Trophy candidate, although he followed that up with a pretty good game, evidently. What, the Penn State dude threw for 400 yards after our game? Anyway, so I don't want to see, what's this guy's name? Max Johnson? That's a great name. Max Johnson. Hello, we are bringing you the hardcore XXX porn. Look at my Rouge Baton starring Max Johnson. That's kind of like Randy Johnson or Magic Johnson. Randy Johnson having a great a porn star actual name and a porn star nickname. And then we bring you Max Johnson. Anyway, that guy could potentially pick us apart if we don't get in his face constantly over and over and over again. Make him make plays. Don't sit back and be passive. That hasn't worked for us yet. We're not that good in coverage, apparently, regardless of what we all thought where we started back when we were talking back as early as, I guess, maybe February, March, leading up to spring, when we were starting to talk about Harsin and you know, the talent he was inheriting and the transfers that were trickling in. What's the biggest concern for you for this Auburn Tigers football team coming up? Well, we'll start here. We're not concerned at all with the secondary. Now, move on. Well, we don't appear to be the greatest in coverage, at least insofar as working within the scheme that we're given. So what's going on there, we'll see. Remains to be seen. We hope that everybody's seeing, everybody on the coaching staff is seeing what we're all seeing and making little adjustments. The other big thing is, well, not the other, one of the other big things as we lead up to the big thing. Dun, dun, dun. One of the other big things moving to the other side of the ball, wide receiver changes. Changes in the wide receiver lineup. We saw dudes make plays last week to save us from the potential of a terrible, 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 terrible loss, who have been riding the bench, and some of them for quite some time now, and every time they get sprinkled out there, we see flashes of brilliance, and then they go back to the bench, and I'm going back to last year too. So, changes in the wide receiver lineup. Look for that, of course. There's nothing particularly revelatory here, so there's not much need to go too deeply into that. We know who can make plays. We know who we'd like to see. We know that the potential with some personnel changes on offense here could be very fun to watch and very productive. So before we get into the final bit of personnel. The whole deal regarding the sacking, the firing of Cornelius Williams. Coach Korn, Will. My goodness, not only has it been misanalyzed to within an inch of its life, one has to wonder about the sanity of people out there. First of all, I'm glad that I waited to make any sort of commentary about this particular individual because I was hot. I was coming hot out of the gates about a former Auburn coach making ridiculous, asinine comments regarding the entirety of Brian Harson's agency as a human. And so I will leave it at this. I'm quite sure all of you saw at least reference to, if not the article and the many articles, about what Tony Franklin had to say about Brian Harsin following the Cornelius Williams firing. Suffice it to say, Mr. Franklin, you may go ahead and fuck all the way off and eat the entire bag of dicks. You are, I don't know, you know what? I don't know what your problem is, but I feel for you. And I'm going to leave it right there. I had a whole lot, just fuck all the way off. Go ahead and fuck right off 2 or 3 times and enjoy the rest of your life. Anyway, enough about that. So, my God, people, it is as though no football coach has ever been fired in the history of ever. I don't know what the histrionics are all about other than we have an awful lot of space to fill and an awful lot of wildly overpaid, undereducated goat slappers, nut jigglers are trying to fill airspace with speculative nonsense about the incident, about the happening itself, and about the people around it. So, I mean, honestly, come on. The commerce, and that's what it is, commerce. The commerce of speculation and pontification is beyond tedious. The trafficking, the commerce, the buying and selling of opining into a camera, it's just boring at this point. No one knows why exactly this happened. It could have been anything. Could have been anything. Could have been the head coach looked at 4 games deep of wide receiver underperformance, culminating in the fact that we couldn't seem to get wide receivers subbed in and out. And as far as I understand, the personnel and substitution decisions are made by the wide receiver coach. So was he or was he not living up to his actual expected job performance? Maybe that's it. Maybe they sat in a room. Maybe Brian Harsin called him in and said, look, dude, you need to get your shit together. The wide receiver room, I'm working on this, this, and this. This coach is doing this, and that coach is doing that to get to this point. You don't seem to be on this train. Why don't you get on board with us? Let's talk about how we can help you do your job better. To which Williams may have replied, yo, fuck you, bro. I'm going to do what I want. And to which he replied, all right, well, you're out of here. No one knows. I made an intentionally ridiculous statement just to point out the fact that no one knows all of the 8 million probable things that led up to Cornelius Williams being dismissed. And speculation is pointless. It is what it is, as they like to say in the coaching profession. It happened. It's a thing that happened. Move on. And quite honestly, it's like, have you never been fired in your life? If there's anyone out there within the sound of my voice that has never been fired, please raise your hand. You're not entitled to this job, whatever job you may have. What you should have is an environment that enables you to do what you need to do and what you think is right based on your prior training and education to do the best at your job without fear lurking over you all the time like the sword of Damocles that you're going to lose your job. Now, college football coaching is a whole different thing. There's kind of always that fear there because it's such an insane world. But the histrionics over someone getting fired, regardless of when it was, in the grand scope of humanity, makes less than a little sense to me. I've been fired many times. Everything from downsizing to performance issues to just... Okay. So I was let go. You're going to be let go. I was fired from a job which the parameters of it, the environment, the milieu, I liked. The job I hated. And so I could not make myself, as disciplined as I can be at times in my life, I could not make myself do my best job, my best work at this job. And my boss, recognizing this, who is actually a friend of mine, fired me, sat me down at Wild Wing Cafe and said, look, man, it is not working out. Blah, blah, blah. And while it was a little painful, because you're being told that you're not good enough. I was so relieved when I got fired. Oh my God, I hate this job. So there's that. Probably the most painful thing in this topic, in this category range that happened to me regarding being fired was not me technically being fired, but me having sort of my core duties, probably my most core duty, removed. I spent an awful lot of years as a caddy, as a golf caddy. I still do it for enjoyment because I love being out there and I love the job because I'm so damn good at it. And the reason that I am so damn good at it is because of this incident. I was caddying in a celebrity golf tournament for an individual. If you're above 30, this person was fundamental to the landscape of sports to you. This is not an obscure individual. This is a Hall of Famer in this particular person's sport and someone who is culturally endemic and fundamental. If you're under 30, I'd give you, if you're between 20 and 30, I'd give you an 80%, 85, 90% chance that you know who this person is. If you're under 20, I'd say it's about a coin toss depending on how you were raised. That's how interwoven within the fabric of sports culture this person was. Big time name. And a person in whom I placed a lot of value of their opinion because of who they were. And so I was assigned to this person at this particular celebrity event because of my back. Now, I had been actually transitioned from on the grass caddying to managing to becoming the caddy master. So at this point, I had been off the grass, as we say, for probably 6 months. So my skills were not as honed as they had been before. And we're on the 5th or 6th hole of this particular tournament in the first round, and I read a putt. We're on a green, and I read a putt, and it was a crazy-ass, ridiculous putt, which he took my read and missed the putt by a lot. And when we got to the next green, he just looked at me and he said, as I kind of got in a position to read the putt, and said, "That's all right. I'm gonna read the putts for the rest of the day because you're not doing a very good job." He didn't just say, "I got this," or "Let me take a look at this and see what's going on." He specifically said, "I'm going to read my putts for the rest of the day because you are not doing a very good job." Now, he didn't fire me. He didn't dismiss me from his bag, and I finished the tournament with him. But that was so egregiously painful to me, not only because I kind of looked up to this dude. This guy is a fundamental figure in the world of sports. But also he said, basically, you suck at your job so badly that the reason I hired you to do it is no longer pertinent, and I'm going to do it myself. And so when I clawed my way back up from the pit of misery, my own little personal hell, my well of despair of being rebuffed so badly by this person, I vowed that shit would never, ever, ever happen again. And I spent so much time learning the fine art and science of green reading. I became the best in the world. No one on this earth, I'm telling you right now, no one on this earth reads greens better than I. Because of that moment, because of being hurt, because of the pain of being rejected in the thing that I thought I could do. And guess what? I got matched up with him again the next year. And he looked at me a little sideways, and I said, "I got this." And we won the tournament. He won the tournament with me on the bag and me reading greens. And I caddied for him in celebrity events and other events around the country a dozen or so more times. Because he said, in essence, "You suck. I'll do it myself. You're fired." So, in this bizarre, safe space, ridiculous, bubble wrap culture in which we live, that doesn't seem to allow for negative things to happen with any sort of understanding. Take heart in the fact that if Coach Williams has the character that everyone says that he has, that he's gonna be just fine. I mean, there's a lot of reasons he's going to be just fine. He was making, I don't know, I think I heard someone say $600,000 a year for not doing a whole lot. A wide receiver coach. Yes, I know, recruiting and blah, 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 all the other stuff. But no real responsibility, and not a lot on the line. But he's going to be fine. He's going to take that money. He's going to get another job. Okay? He'll be okay. His character is not going to take a hit from this. His bank account is not going to take a hit from this. His career is probably not going to take much of a hit from this, because by all reports, the guy is highly thought of in football coaching circles. He'll be fine. Why did this happen? Why did this firing happen? I don't know, man. I don't know. None of us will know, and it's ridiculous to speculate on it. But look at it from the other side of the coin. Maybe if there was a shortcoming, and by the way, that's a thing. There was so much bizarre speculation on this that one has to wonder, at this point, have you been paying attention when it comes to Brian Harsin? Does Brian Harsin strike you at all as someone who does anything willy-nilly, higgledy-piggledy, for emotional reasons, reactive? Does he strike you as a reactive type of a dude? Because he strikes me as someone who is calculating and calm. So whatever the reasons were, and now that doesn't mean that someone who is calculating and calm and relatively cerebral at their job doesn't do things that they may later look back on and go, you know what, maybe that wasn't exactly the right move. Maybe we could have gone about that differently. But my God, it makes you wonder why anyone would do this job at all. Because you are allowed no buffer zone of sanity. So is that about enough of that? I think that's about enough of that. We don't know why this happened. Brian Harsin is not someone who seems to do things by the seat of his pants. And Cornelius Williams will be just fine. Is and will be just fine. Hopefully will be a little bit better at what he does because of this. Because regardless of whatever may or may not transpire to cause this this move, hopefully he will be a little introspective and say, you know what, even if this wasn't why I got fired, maybe, I look back and I could have done this a little bit better and I could have done that a little bit better. Read putts better. Right? Anyway, it just goes to the general uselessness of this reportage going on today. So, on to the large, I'm not going to use that metaphor. The crux of the game today. Who is going to take the first snap at quarterback for the Auburn Tigers? And it's been speculated to death and reasoned to death. And there are reasonable arguments to be made for both Bo Nix and TJ Finley. However, I think the smart move, given all the factors, is to put TJ Finley in at quarterback to start the game. I can't hear any more of this emotional bullshit about him going back to Baton Rouge. Come on, man. Again, this goes back to what I talked about with the LSU Auburn voodoo nonsense, all the weirdness. It's not a thing. It's a confluence of events that seem coincidental. And I've observed Mr. Finley in interviews and in playing situations, and he doesn't strike me as someone to be overcome by emotion. So I dismiss that out of hat. Will he be jacked up? Sure. But at this point, well, let's go here. I did a couple of episodes 45 and 46 of this very fine podcast were basically centered around my lack of understanding of why we'd seemingly upset the apple cart by bringing in a transfer quarterback. And so episode 45 was me questioning, and episode 46 was me going, yeah, I get it. I understand. But it comes down to one word. This. This right here is why. Last week, with a season on the brink of ignominy, the transfer guy comes in and stone cold rescues the entrenched starter from the eternal horse collar of the worst loss in 129 years. So, first of all, Bo, you should thank TJ for that. Do you want to be the guy that lost to Georgia State? as a third-year starter at home. Mercy sakes alive. No, you don't want to be that guy. So anyway, TJ came in cold, had the moxie to overcome some early misfires, and lead a team on an epic drive, 98-yard drive. And do not give me bullshit about that Shanker catch, because here's the thing, folks. Regardless of whatever happened vis-a-vis any kind of penalties or any kind of catches, non-catches, anything like that, the bottom line is that for 98 yards, they made the plays they needed to make when they needed to make them. So if the Shanker catch, non-catch, is overruled, your stance that it's 100% guaranteed that they wouldn't have made another play is nonsense, Georgia State coach, asshole. What a whiny motherfucker that guy is. Stop talking about it, move on. In any situation like this where fans and coaches and media people and whoever bitch and whine and piss and moan about a call being made or not made on the field, you cannot work under the assumption that a remedy would not have been made on the following play or a subsequent play. So don't give me that. They made the plays for 98 goddamn yards. They made every play they needed to make. Ergo, touchdown, 2-point conversion, followed up by a pick six. So, that's what TJ Finley did. And past that, TJ Finley has shown in his very brief time with the Auburn Tigers and showed previously with LSU that he has some well, actually, these are not intangibles. These are very tangible things that Bo, at this point, we have to just say does not possess. And I will always maintain that Bo Nix was the best option at starting quarterback for 2 years. And I will also always maintain until my grave that he is the victim of egregiously bad coaching vis-a-vis the quarterback position. So, none of that is relevant, though, to who is going to be the best person to start at quarterback for Auburn now. That doesn't matter, and that's why TJ Finley was brought in. He has field vision, not only because he's 6'7", but because of the combination of all of his previous coaching has taught him how to play the position as a quarterback, not an athlete. And Bo's athleticism has probably led almost like Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow's utterly superior athleticism led to him not being such a good quarterback as we define the position in the modern era. He has field vision. He sees the field better than Bo does on a number of levels. The simple fact that TJ knows inherently to climb the pocket, how to climb the pocket instead of sliding out of the pocket, instead of bailing, instead of probably subconsciously just leaking out. He steps up, climbs the pocket, making reads, and delivers the ball. That is something which we have not seen in a long time. And overall, TJ seems to have a better conceptual grasp of the quarterback position than Bo. I've laid out my reasons why I think that is. His superior athleticism has led him to improvise a lot and to not need to refine passing skills. His legs get him out of a lot of jams. And tangentially, the offense we seem to be calling now for 4 games, so it's not a fluke, does not play to Bo's strengths. And if we're going to continue to call this offense, which we seem to be, then it doesn't make any sense to put a guy in, regardless of how many games he started and what his position is within the structure of the team, to just put him back in there Because I don't know. Because he was the starter. And aside from coaching malfeasance, you got to wonder at this point, is Bo, and I am not saying this to be derogatory, but you have to wonder about this. Is Bo just not as smart as he needs to be continually improving to the point of eliteness at the quarterback position? Is he just not smart enough to grasp the vagaries of defensive concepts in relation to how you move your own chess pieces around the board? It remains to be seen, but the evidence seems to be no, which points back again to why, when you at this point seemingly have a better option, why would you, I don't know, why would you go back? So you put Bo in until he screws something up, and then you put TJ in. Why? Why would you give away whatever you gave away? 2-3 drives, a quarter, a half, to do something that was inevitable anyway? I don't know. And I'm not going to get into the topic of, do you risk splitting the locker room and losing the team? Because I cannot believe, I can't get myself into a world in which people just quit, in which grown men, because that's what they are, grown men, young men, but grown men who are, they're elite enough at their chosen sport to be playing on this level. I cannot get my head around the fact that these people would just quit or would just start choosing allegiances, which is counteractive, it's counterproductive, it's counterintuitive to what the fuck it is you're trying to do in the first place, which is to be the best of the best at what you do so that maybe you can do it for a living. So I don't like that topic, and it's stupid. The empirical evidence is right there that TJ Finley should start this game. I don't give a shit about where it is. I don't give a shit about emotions. I don't give a shit about who has been the starter for 2+ years. The empirical evidence shows that TJ Finley is a better quarterback, especially for this particular offense, than Bo Nix. I'm sorry, Bo. You all know how I feel about him. Love him to death. Was the best guy for the job at that time. Enter TJ Finley. The paradigm has shifted. So there you go. TJ Finley should start this game. I don't care about intangibles. The tangibles overwhelm the intangibles, as they usually do. And that's all I've got to say about that. So we'll kind of wrap up a little bit here. Let's see if we can bring this in by just taking a little peek at the landscape of college football and the scoreboard today. Let's see what we got going on here. Now, but before we get to that, I actually, for the first time, was able to watch some other than Auburn football last weekend, and I've updated my opinion for our upcoming schedule. Now, there's a game today that's going to pique my interest, and it is at noon Eastern. The Arkansas Razorbacks versus the Athens Academy Booger Eaters. And that's going to probably cement my analysis of a thing that I'm going to say in a moment. So what do we have coming up left? LSU, do we win this game today if we start TJ Finley from the beginning and we make philosophical adjustments on defense? Yes. Next week, I'm going to save that one. Skipping ahead to October 16th at Arkansas. My God, that looks like a tough game. We're going to see a little bit more evidence that will probably, between the Arkansas game today and the Auburn game today, we're probably going to know a hell of a lot more than we have thus far about the Auburn at Arkansas game. So it's not looking great right now because everybody that goes into that place seems to die a painful death. So that game is not looking very good at this point, a game that we thought we could just chalk up, right? And then so coming off of a bye week, we got Ole Miss at home. They play Alabama today, and that's going to tell us a lot about sort of how they play against elite competition. That game is also not looking good for us. At TAMU, that game is looking better than we probably thought it was. So there's that. Mississippi State, look, I watched the LSU-Mississippi State game last week, and neither one of those teams impressed me very much at all. And I just don't think that Mississippi State is or ever will be a good football team, at least in the foreseeable future. So we will win that game. I keep hearing rumblings about how South Carolina is a more, disciplined team who is trying hard. But we will win that game. And then we will... are we going to beat UAT? Probably not. It's at home. We'll kind of see what happens with them today. Keep an eye on that. But things are looking more like they're sliding back to kind of 7 wins, which when you got going on what we got going on and you play once again the most difficult schedule in the nation, that's what's going to happen. So in fact, let's look at this again. Let's look at top 25 games today. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nope. 6. I know this is scintillating radio. 6 games against top 15. Yeah, we play 6 of the current top 15. How about that shit? Again. That's our schedule. We got number 1, Alabama. We got number 12, Ole Miss. We got number 8, Arkansas. Number 2, Georgia. Number 4, Penn State. Number 15, Texas A&M. Put that up. Anybody else, bring me your schedule. Just don't even waste your time because that's ridiculous. But anyway, 7-win season, and with a schedule like that, with what we got going on, I don't know. That's kind of along the lines of the average of what the mean of what everyone was picking at the beginning of the season. So I don't know why that would be a big surprise. We let Akron and Alabama State cloud our judgment just a little bit, which I say we, but there was a lot of good-looking stuff that happened in those 2 games that didn't seem to follow in the following 2 games. So we'll see. And dude, college football. What the heck are you going to... You never, just really on the whole never know what's going to happen from one week to the next. So let's look at the SEC slate today and see what we got going on. Ole Miss at Alabama. Boy, that's going to be interesting to watch. That's at 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central. I will also have an eye on that. I don't know, man. I don't know what to think about that. I know, will Lane Kiffin be the first? You know what? There's a good chance of that. Real good chance of that. But Alabama is not... They're not rolling into this particular game versus Ole Miss going, yeah, we got this. So you probably see their best game today, which means they should win. Arkansas at Booger Eater University at noon, 11 Central. This one's going to be interesting. I don't even know what to think about this because Georgia has looked like 2 different teams so far this season, and Arkansas has looked legit, and I can't wait to see the Georgia offense versus a legit defense. But we'll see. In a sleepy time game, Arkansas is going to be actually gaining an hour, so I like that reversal of time zones there. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know, but I'm going to be watching that one closely. Florida is probably going to destroy Kentucky. Do you really believe in Kentucky? I don't. Thank you. Texas A&M will probably beat Mississippi State something like 16-2. Tennessee and Missouri, I cannot possibly care. Missouri will win that game. South Carolina will beat Troy. Vanderbilt. Okay, so that's the SEC. Let's take a quick peek at the top 25 before we get out of here. And non-SEC games, Oregon will pound Stanford. Penn State will pound Indiana. Penn State's legit, yo. Don't look at that loss as something bad. Oklahoma, geez, I don't know. I mean, I guess they should pound Kansas State, but they're kind of iffy. And then we got Cincinnati versus Notre Dame, 7-9. I have no idea. I have not watched one single second of Cincinnati football in my entire life. I have no idea what to think about this. I know that Notre Dame is usually pretty overrated, so that game is probably going to be a home field favor. Notre Dame will win by 1, 21-20. Ohio State, Rutgers, ridiculous. Here's the thing. Michigan, Wisconsin. Wisconsin is proven to be not very good. Probably average. Probably an average team. Michigan, who that's another one like Texas and Miami that the media so desperately wants to be relevant again. And let's be honest, when Michigan is relevant, college football is probably better. They're ranked 14th and they play at Wisconsin. So I reckon we'll find out today if Michigan is quasi legit. Coastal Carolina, which as y'all know by now is just up the road for me. It's fun to watch them do this thing that they're doing. So I don't know. They're playing ULM. Who cares? Michigan State, who cares? Fresno State, 18th ranked Fresno State goes to Hawaii, which is just the weirdest thing ever to me. Fresno State probably wins that game by 30. Baylor and Oklahoma State, I don't know. I don't care. UCLA, Arizona State, don't know, don't care. NC State, doesn't matter. Wait. Okay, your powerhouse teams in the ACC are currently North Carolina State and Wake Forest, ladies and gentlemen. And then Clemson will stay at home to play Boston College tonight and probably win unless they got too much crazy shit going on that they're confused about why they can't just roll out and beat everybody. And then last night, Iowa, number 5, which I guess looks legit, just absolutely hammered Maryland, which is a ridiculous excuse for a football team. And then BYU, 34-20 over Utah State. BYU, legit squad, always there, kind of right in the middle of the pack regarding the top 25. So that's what went on and what will be going on today. And it appears that right now, having nothing interesting remaining to say, if anything I've said so far is interesting at all, I will go ahead and prepare. It is 10 minutes after 11 in the Eastern time zone. I will go ahead and prepare myself to watch the Razorbacks take on the Barking Fools and leave you all to your day. Hopefully you have enjoyed this as you prepare for our game this evening, and we will see what goes on. TJ Finley. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, and Auburn family, I bid you all good day. Enjoy this day, this beautiful October Saturday. Rejoice in the greatness that is college football. Lift your eyes to the world and smile and make the world a little bit of a better place than it was yesterday as you go about your business. Auburn stuff can be found at auburnstuff.podme.com and on Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google, blah, blah. You don't care. You're listening to wherever it is you found it, and you're going to listen to it anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's found. Auburn Stuff can be found everywhere. And go to YouTube. Check out. Please go to the YouTube channel and check it out. I want to do more stuff with that, but I need some traffic. So help a brother out. Go over there. Take a look at some of the content I have posted, which I think you will enjoy, and give some likes and subscribes and comments and follows and all that kind of stuff. If you want to drop me a line about any of this, the email is auburnstuff@yahoo.com, or you can use the Twitter machine at StuffAuburn, or over on Instagram at AuburnStuff. I appreciate your time, as it is the most valuable resource with which we work. We do not possess it. We do not control it. And as always, Auburn family, be mindful, be fit, be authentic. Sometimes it's all you have, but especially when you're in the state of Louisiana, surrounded by voodoo and humidity and crazy people, it will be most definitely all you ever need. Until next time, War Eagle, everyone, and see you down the road.